There's a lot of meetings that we sat with the homeowners and we talked about, what are their day-to-day schedules, because everything that they do correlates somehow to how the house should function, because it's not just about aesthetics, it's about functionality too. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges with every client, is getting the form to also function. We took the design elements, like one of the things that we noticed in the project, they love arches, and we tried to incorporate it in a way where it's not traditional and it's not so much so that it's overwhelming, but as a architectural focal point, as when people walk in, that's what they see. And we strategically placed it where you get the most maximum wow, and it's not overwhelming. So everything is, again, cohesive and it kind of flows. Some of the beautiful features of that house are the arches that go into that hallway. Mixing porcelain and marble in different areas, like in the master bathroom, we had marbles on the walls, but we had porcelain, massive tiles, very, very large format tiles that gave that key feature for the master, and almost all the walls had some form of tile work on it. So it was one of my favorite projects that we worked with a client that really came out really nice. One of the things that we really love doing is bringing in natural light. I think it's a art form that is kind of lost. People rely on artificial lighting so much with recessed lights and accent lighting, but I think nature has its own beauty, right? And to create windows in strategic place, that when you understand where the sun rises and sets and just the movement of it and how it correlates with what's happening inside, I think it's so beautiful once it's finished. And that was one of the things that we really made sure we hit on, to add really large, almost ceiling to floor height windows in strategic places that amplified that natural lighting. I know that when we were at one point getting photographs of it, they turned off all the lights because it was unnecessary. So that's how you know when you don't have to turn on any of the lights, even though we had like a massive smart house system in that house where you come in and you can push home button, and how you set up your home system, it would turn on your lights, your music, whatever ambiance you want. But it was unnecessary because there was just so much ample natural lighting that just made everything pretty. How much we focus on natural lighting, and also like the materials that we used, like the wall colors, and that wall color, where does it fall within the spectrum of if there's no light in the room, or if there is light in the room, how would it look? And so we keep it very minimalistic, we keep it very simple, but there's so much detail that goes into it that kind of people don't notice, so that's why I like to talk about it. Yeah. Even the way that we designed the railing, it had to be made on site. So, and again, the challenges with it, when it's installed on site, well, how are they gonna powder coat it? So that was done on site. So there was a lot of mess and chaos that happened, but with every artistic approach, I always say, there's gonna be mess, but the end result turned out to be so beautiful, and it just flows, and I can't imagine it doing it any other way. That staircase was 100% custom. Even the wood that we used, I was there on a Saturday, very hot Saturday, drenched in sweat. We had a little bit of AC, but we were staining the wood because it was raw. And I was there for 4 hours, and these poor guys were, shaving, sanding, and then they would put the different types of layered chemicals, and I would stand and I would tell them, no, this needs a little bit more bleached out look, this needs a little bit of a gloss. So one of the things that I pride myself with is I can color match anything. And so we had engineered wood flooring in that house that to this day, you know, is one of my favorite products. I very rarely use real wood unless a client specifically asks for, because engineered woods, at least the ones that we use, you can actually sand it and restain it if you ever change your mind. So it's very thick, it's very resilient, and honestly it's one of my favorite materials that we use in our projects. So to match that with a raw wood, I made sure that the type of wood that we got was, you know, specific. It was a white oak, but getting the color match took some time. But it was a 4-hour process, but you couldn't tell the difference. And the landing on the second floor where we had that custom built kind of table for, you know, because they had teenagers and they want to do homework and have a central location where they can have their laptops out. That wood was also color matched to make sure that it kind of felt with the overall theme of the house. I mean, I think the biggest obstacles we had for that project were Mother Nature. It was a brutal, brutal time. It was COVID, and we had, you know, so many things we had to reverse engineer. Like usually we don't really pick the appliances until we know the layout of the cabinets. But we had to order appliances because it was just such a lead time to receiving all those things. So for me, it was a lot of work, but like reversed work that we had to do. So I think those were the challenges. But because we stayed educated when it came to understanding and communicating with our reps and our different vendors and having meetings with them on the back end, that, hey, you know, what are you looking at? What is your, you know, numbers coming out? How far is it? Like we had slabs that were stuck in Italy for months because crates that shipped out slabs were like $2,500, right? Well, they ended up being $25,000. So companies and vendors were waiting to fill a container, whole container, because that's how much it was costing at the time. Or like how lumber was like such an expensive item, you know? But being educated was one of the things that helped us to overcome all these obstacles. And if it wasn't Mother Nature and COVID, this project really didn't have any hiccups, I would say. I was at that project during the last 5 months of it, almost every other day, and doing quality control. The hood, so that hood for that project has drywall all around it. And it's so beautiful, and it had to have a curve because, again, we were going back to the consistency of using these curves and semicircles in strategic areas. And I knew that the windows that planked on both sides of the hood and this range that's like so beautiful, it's a beautiful blue, needed to have a smoothness that we were having a difficult time doing. So with engineered work, we were able to fix the curvature because it has to be framed, and then they put drywall. Well, everything is all, you know, straight, nothing's curved, so it's not like a foam where you can shave it off. But through some engineering work, we were able to make that beautiful hood look fantastic. We did several walks with the homeowner. Like we walked room by room with the plan. Okay, these are your lights. Okay, which one of these areas do you want to have access to where you can turn it off remotely? And I think that's the beauty of it. And then once like they move in, they can customize the labeling when they come in and they chisel, so you can say vibing. You know, when you push that, and your Barry Manilow would come on and the lights would dim, or, you know, whatever floats your boat. But the ability to be able to customize it to your needs is what we love about that system. as a designer, you really need to have an open mind. I think, it's not my home, it's their home at the end of the day, and how I can make them to be happy, because the joy on their face is essentially why we do what we do. I think a lot of it has to do with those first couple of meetings of talking to the clients to get to know them, because you're going to be part of this process and this journey. And if you don't know them to the T, like you don't know what makes them happy and what things irritate them, then and reading between the lines is really, really important, because sometimes they don't even say it, but based upon kind of hints, it's a lot of inferences, you're able to get a feel for the direction of the design. We make sure that we're using the most state-of-the-art materials to stand the test of time, to be able to come back 5 years from now and really not be able to say when this house was built. You want to make sure that it's classic, it's timeless, and it's elegant, and regardless of what year it is, that house still looks immaculate and it looks beautiful, and nobody can really tell you, oh, that looks like a early 90s house, or that looks like an early 2000 home. And that's kind of one of the things that we really love to do, is to make something that's timeless. Because that whole house was really, really lovely. For a lovely, lovely couple too, so. No, at the end of the day, it's all about the client. It's all about their happiness and the process, that they were joyous and excited, we don't want to see tears of sadness. We want to see tears of joy.